name's Everett. I have lived in the Atlanta area for 5 years now. Launched my company pretty much right after I moved here. It's gone through a couple iterations, but what I do is I help small businesses, medium-sized businesses, get found online, which is absolutely critical nowadays in both mobile schemes and still on desktop. Worked a lot in internet marketing for a couple of agencies in Illinois. Done some contract and consulting stuff here, but really found that I was pretty damn good at what I do. So I'm going to move and launch my own company, and it's going really great. I got 2 great people back there who support me, and looking forward to how things are going to progress here in the next few months. So today we're going to be talking about a variety of things, and I don't know, is anybody here working in the digital field at all? Anybody on the internet marketing side of things? Anybody's content get published online a little bit over here? Okay, so the great thing about content is you can produce a ton of it, but if nobody can find it, then what's the point? And that's what I do. So today we're going to talk about search engines, and specifically web search engines, which is what my expertise is in, and optimizing your content for Google, getting found, and how to drive traffic to your sites, that sort of thing. So we're going to start with what's a search engine. Google says a search engine is a program for retrieval of data from a database or network, i.e. the internet. Sounds pretty straightforward, but there's different types of search engines. You have your desktop PCs when you're trying to search for a document. It's an internal search engine. Your built-in website search engines, if you're trying to find a specific keyword on a website, internet, extranet, and then of course the web, which we get into the top 3 big dogs in the industry, which are Google, Yahoo, and Bing. But the one we hear all the buzz about is Google, right? Does anybody in here use Yahoo or Bing? I'm curious, seriously. You guys use it? Okay, that's about right. That's about. Are you really? Nice, open source, nice. So that's good though, because that's actually a pretty good representation, because we're going to talk about why Google is the buzz right now. So if you look at this schematic, which I pulled offline, we're looking at basically how a search engine works. So basically what happens is Google, it sends out its coded bots. The bots are little programs that spider the web, they crawl the web, and they hit all the websites on the web. They index every page on the site that's worth indexing. They copy the information and they store it on their servers. So when you actually do a Google search, you're not actually hitting the web server. You're actually hitting Google's index of all the pages that are on the web. And then when you click on the index, then you hit the web server and you're actually seeing what's on the site. So it's pretty simplistic in the way that it's set up here, but it's just an idea of how you get the information that you're looking for on the Google search. So why is everybody obsessed with Google? Google, it's a colloquial term now. Go to Google, it's in the Webster's Dictionary. Let me Google that for you.com. Consult Dr. Google. You ever had, I got this eczema on my arm, what am I going to do? You consult Google. You go to WebMD or whatever. So that's because it's the man in search. 2/3 of all searches done in the United States are done on Google. That's tremendous. That's why they're so powerful. The 800-pound gorilla of the industry. So that said, when a company or a consultant comes to me and says, how do I need to get found on Google? It's never, oh, I really need to increase my traffic on Bing or Yahoo. It's I got to get to the top of Google. And yes, I do rank number 1 for this particular keyword. So how do I get there? It's a very multi-layered answer to that question. There are a variety of different ranking factors when you look at a piece of content like a PDF or a video or a web page. How do I get my web page to rank number 1 for Planet SEO Consultant. And there's a variety of factors, both on-site, so optimizing your actual web page to make it the most keyword relevant, keyword friendly, so on your actual, within your content, and a variety of other things I'll discuss later. But also some off-site stuff, which is basically marketing. You're marketing your product or service or your brand, and you're building links and you're creating buzz through social media and other things. And these all kind of determine how well you rank in search results. Topical authority, and we'll also talk a little bit about how to properly structure the architecture of your website, or a specific file section on the site, so that you're more trusted and you're more relevant to the search engines. So the first step when you're optimizing the web page is to figure out what people are searching for. So the example that I'm going to continue to go back to today is one that I kind of pulled out of thin air, which is Weber grill manuals. So if you've ever created a schematic or an assembly manual or an owner's manual for any sort of product, people are actually searching for those because, I mean, I don't know where my grill manual is. I probably tossed it away as soon as I got it together. So basically what you need to do, there's a great free tool that Google provides, which is called the AdWords Keyword Tool. And this is the link to it, google.com/SPA tool. And basically, start thinking like a searcher. I mean, when you go to Google, what do you type in? You're probably going to type in a variety of these phrases. You can look at the brand name, the model, and the actual, what you're looking for. Is it a manual? Are you looking to assemble it? So on and so forth. So what you do is, after you get there, you start typing in these phrases. And what Google does is it provides you a wide variety of terms. Now these are just the top 4 terms that I had selected. But Google actually will tell you the average monthly search volume for these particular phrases. And these are exact match phrases, which means they're actually searching 90 times a month for Weber grill assembly. Now, the thing about keyword research is the numbers that come back and the keyword phrases that pop back as suggested keywords can be mind-boggling. 20,000 searches a month for SEO consultants. What's the value there? It probably means that there's going to be really, really high competition, and you're probably going to get frustrated right away. So one thing that I'm going to suggest is to embrace what are called long tail terms. These are high quality terms that are relevant to your business, relevant to the product or service offering that you have, and are still going to drive qualified visitors to your site, but may not be the number one. So you got to kind of have to start and get a little bit of momentum. That's kind of the point of long tail terms.
What exactly is long tail?
Long tail is it's an industry term. Long tail meaning usually phrases that are more, 3 words or more, that are get more specific. So once you've utilized your Google AdWords keyword tool, identified the keywords that you want to target, what are you going to do with them? Well, you're going to use them on your documents, your web pages. There are strategic places that you put these keywords, such as file names, metadata, content headers, body content, and short text. And I'll talk about each of those. So now we're going to talk about web pages, which is my specialty. Just for optimizing web pages. Is anybody really familiar with metadata and that sort of thing? Okay. So on the web, the HTML metadata, meta title, meta description, content headers, H1, H2, H3, make in order of importance, 1, 2, 3. And then you want to use the keywords within your body content. You have to actually get them on the page, or Google's not going to be able to read them and say, oh, this guy is relevant. this term.
Are you going to make your presentation available?
Yes. Yeah, it'll be.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll diagnose the search result here, or dissect rather. You look at the very top. This happens to be one of my clients. Atlanta laser tattoo removal. This is our main, the main title tag up here. And the title tag is the most important tag on any web page. It's like the cover of the book. It's the name of the book. It tells Google what the content within the page is all about. So you really want to get your keywords towards the very front of your title tags as you're optimizing your web pages. So if we go back to our example of Weber Grill, and we picked out our keywords. So an optimized title tag might be Weber Genesis E310 manual assembly / Weber Grill manuals. We've got, essentially, if you read left to right, all the keywords, except for assemble, created in this title tag. So if you look into a search result, this actually shows up in the search result. Everybody sees what the title tag is. So, and the great thing is for a user, is it pops out in bold headers that, hey, this is important. This is exactly what I'm looking for. Next is your meta description. Meta descriptions are basically, it tells the user, it shows up in the search result, this is what it looks like. It tells the user what the web page is about, kind of a quick summary. It does not have any impact on how well a page may rank, but it's where you convince the user that you want to click on my result because I have exactly what you're looking for. So getting your keywords in the meta description, having a call to action is always good to download this, get a free this, or what have you. So if we look at the example back to the Weber grills, we're looking at View Weber Genesis E310 manual assembly online at your brand name, whatever your company name is. Call to action is download PDF files of Weber grill manuals for Genesis model, yada yada yada. So we're really taking care of not only our targeted key terms, but also the long tail key terms of Weber grill manuals for Genesis E310 model. So we don't just have those 4 terms above. We're also kind of taking care of the rest. Anything that somebody may search for. Best practice tip: 160 character max. I think it's like 156 actually show in the results. So you got a little dot 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 there at the end. But anything over that is okay. Again, it doesn't help you rank, so there's no reason to do that. URLs. Page URLs also have a tremendous impact on how well your website ranks. And later on, we'll talk about content structure. If you dissect this URL here in the example, wiph.com / tattoo removal would be your top would be your secondary level, and then laser tattoo removal on Georgia would be the third level. The category, and then the category name. You want to get the keywords in there not just for keyword relevancy, but you also want to get them in there because again they pop out to the user. This is what I want. This is what I'm looking for. When I click through, it gets to your content. Going back to our Weber grill. Second level, Weber grill manuals. Weber Genesis E310 manual assembly. So we're getting more specific on the landing page. Keep the URL at 2,000 and oh, if your URLs are over 100 characters, that's great. That's great. Internet Explorer will actually not open a link that's over 2,000 characters. Just a random note. So no. So we've optimized our URLs and our metas. So we've told Google, hey, this is really relevant to what you're looking for. But now we have to optimize the body content. We want to reuse our keyword phrases within very strategic places on the site. So if you ever go into a website, it's got a header on the top, which is typically your H1 tag. So that basically redirects to search spider, okay, this is what the content is about. And then it break it down into H2, which is just basically a subheader. So if you look at any sort of document, you usually have a section header and then subheaders. So H1 tag, H2 tags, it's just a place to reiterate what your keyword phrases are, and H2 tags are really great for getting your long tail terms, kind of the variations of your terms. Going back to Clever Grills. So we're going to take care of both keyword phrases with the H1, because we've got manual and assembly, and you read them left to right. Weber Genesis, manual, assembly. So we got them both in there. H2, call to action, download, you got your keyword in there as well. Only one header tag, one H1 tag per page. Best practice. Keywords in the body content. The bane of any SEO is getting a copywriter who can write for not only search engines, but also for people. And you don't want to, as a user who's trying to find a product or service, you guys don't want to read a bunch of copy that just repeats the same word over and over and over again. It gets really mundane, right? So finding a copywriter who is able to mesh the marketing speak with the SEO speak, those are like gold in my industry. Being able to capture conversions, capture leads, get them, entice them to fill out a contact form or make a purchase, and using the keywords, using the strong tags, which is like basically bold tags if you've ever been, if you use a Word document. What you're telling the search engine is this word is more important than the rest of the page. So some example phrases you might use, going back to our Weber example, dumbfounded on the Weber Genesis assembly. So just think of creative ways to get your keywords in there. You shouldn't have the same keyword in the same sentence, basically. That's spam. Google doesn't like that, and you will get penalized for that. They're pretty hard on spammers. So we know how to optimize a web page, but how do you bring all of that information together and create a website that really ranks, really works? A lot of that has to do with the way that the content and the pages are organized on the website. So this might sound pretty logical, but you want to group things together that are similar. So if you have a website,
It's just crazy.
Crazy, it's crazy. If you have a website that, and say you do piano repair or you're selling pianos, you may have different sections for piano accessories, you may have different sections for piano repair, piano music, sheet music, whatever. You bring all this related content together, but you funnel it into these what are called silos, clusters, and you create a hierarchy that makes sense. So, but around that, there are a lot of opportunities to increase the keyword relevancy of your site, the topical relevancy of your site. When Google goes to a site and they see, well, okay, he's talking about fantasy baseball here, but then on another page he's talking about tattoo removal. it's not going to make a lot of sense. So they're probably not going to rank that site for either of those terms because there's no cohesion there with the content. So what we want to do is we want to create supporting content around our targeted phrases. So, for example, going back to the WIFH, what we've done is we've created these clusters. So under tattoo removal, we have different subpages that talk about different facets of tattoo removal. Pricing, Q&A, doesn't hurt, aftercare, how do you care for your tattoo after you've gotten this laser, laser treatment on it. So we've created all this great content, but the great thing about it is we're able to link back to our what are called money pages, the pages we want to rank in the search result, that people are going to find to make a buying decision. So going back to the Weber grill, if you were to group these things together, you would have your home page, which is your root domain, www.whatever your website is.com. The content category would be Weber grill manuals. So this is going to be comprehensive, all about Weber grill manuals, and then specifically about the Genesis series, and then down into more specific pages. And then, again, if you look at the URL structure, we've got 3 different levels of optimization here. We've got the top level category page, Weber grill manuals, general, less general, very specific. And I already kind of touched on this, which was identifying the cross-linking opportunities. Basically, when you link to other pages on your site, it helps the search engine spider crawl it. It gets the search engines to each individual page on your site. It's also good for users to get them to information that they want, or they may want to read that is related. And it's also great, again, going back to the long tail ideology, where you're attracting people who may not be searching those really top terms and more specific terms. That's great for inbound traffic to your site. There may be 30 searches a month for how do I care for my tattoo after waiting, you know what I mean? So, yeah. So, yeah. What's the goal here? Is when you're trying to rank high in the search engines, you're basically proving to Google and to users that you're an authority. You are a trusted source for this topic or information. And this is what all these things do. And there's great diversity in what you can do on your website in order to drive revenues, create great new content from blogging, FAQ sections about Weber grill manuals, that sort of thing. I think I talked about that a little bit there. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, going back to Weber grills, the content ideas that you can take from those different things we can do, videos, how to actually assemble them. Those are great resources for people. And going back to, well, I'm going to talk about a little bit about off-site optimization, which is basically getting links, creating buzz, getting people to interact with you online. And that also helps build rankings. Comparison pages, gas versus charcoal, just kind of get creative. There's a lot of industries where, for example, junk cars. Can you imagine creating a content silo for junk cars? What's it going to be about? Catalytic converge, maybe? Environmental impact. You can only say so much about junk cars. Again, offsite marketing strategies. So after you optimize your website, your web pages, you then have to go and market yourself. Building links. Links are still incredibly important. Links from relevant sites are incredibly important to how well the website or web page ranks. Google's actually done some recent in-house tests where they have changed their algorithm Google's algorithm has over 200 different variation factors of how it ranks a page. Where they've just taken down links, and this is because people in my industry, bad people, very bad people in my industry, abuse it. They spam the web with content that doesn't matter, that mostly, I mean, it's not even readable. And all it does is provide a link back to your site. And Google is smart enough, their algorithm is sophisticated enough to pick up on that. And the people who get caught get kicked off. So you have to do it in a legitimate way, a way that provides value to the user. You know, what's going to help them, what sort of problem am I solving for them with my product or service, and really create a content marketing strategy around that, whether it's video or white papers, PDFs. So again, link authority equals trust with users and with search engines. So that in turn gives you higher rankings. We have time? We do have time. Bonus section. PDF files for Google. This may, since not a lot of you work with digital, this may be a little bit more helpful. We've all created different documents and exported them as PDF files, and if we give them to the digital people and they put them on the website, most of the time you don't know where the heck they've gone. But the great thing about PDF files is Google will index them and they will rank them if they're good enough. So ways to optimize PDF files. A lot of the same rules apply with using your keyword phrases, keyword terms. You want to use them in strategic places, definitely in the file name. There's also, under the properties, you can add your keywords within the titles. There's actually a keyword field under the properties, subjects, and I'll show you how to do all that here in a minute. Use text-based PDFs. That kind of varies from application to application. File size matters. There's a little trick to cleaning up the reading order, and then obviously you want to protect the content that you make so that no one can edit. Optimize file name. This versus this, which do you think is more relevant to the search engines? Or the one that Google did? It actually uses keywords in the file name. Yeah, if you give it a good file name, it's likely to be used in the title as well. How do you do that? Easy. Save as. Name it something nice with your keywords. Text-based PDFs. This is the process of doing this is a little different from application to application, but the point here is Google loves HTML. It's what it was built to do. Is crawl HTML pages. It doesn't necessarily understand the PDF language or PDF structure. So if you do it plain text, it can sometimes read that text and determine what the actual content is about on PDFs. So if you can export as a PDF text file, do so. If you have a scan, there are software tools out there that will actually scan them and pull out the text. Again, processes are different. Optical character recognition, that's the word that I was looking for. That software is what pulls off of your scans, if you scan a piece of paper or whatever, your regular printer scan, and converts it to text-based. Why you want to use keywords? Going back to keyword relevancy. Google loves keywords. Okay, so how do we implement these? This is what I was talking about. Properties within the document. Properties, title, author. We're sticking all the web real stuff in here. Keywords. There's additional metadata that you can get to. You can add director of Braille Assembly, copyright 2014, all this kind of stuff. So basically, it's crossing your T's and dotting your I's. It's putting all the information in that you're allowed to. There's nothing wrong with that. That's why we put it there. And if you're going to use keywords, you're just going to help yourself get found. File size as small as possible. So loading time. You all get frustrated with websites that don't load fast enough. Same thing goes for the search engine spiders. If it doesn't load fast enough, it's going to choke them, and they're going to be like, we're going to bounce off this page. So keep it to a relatively small file size, so that you can please users and the search engines. How do you do that? You can save as reduce file size PDF. There's other ways to do it. Optimized PDF ways where you're saving it for mobile and that sort of thing. But that's just in general. Clean up the reading order. So one of the cool things that Adobe allows you to do is if you have an image on a particular PDF document, you can actually stretch your cursor across that image, select it, and assign it alt text, which Google will be able to read. How you do that? Under Tools, Accessibility. We have a menu over here on the right-hand side called Touch Up Reading Order. You're going to actually close this box here first that pops up. Select the figure. So, for example, with Whoever Drills, I selected the whole thing. What you want to do is you want to tag it as a figure, it's an image. And then what you can do is add alt text. And then I just stuck in my keywords there too. So Google, when it reads that, because it's a text document now, PDF, it's going to pick up that the image within that document is been optimized with that alt text. Right protection. You know, when you've done a great job, you don't want anybody to mess with your work, right? Particularly when your name's on it. Right protecting your document basically, makes it so people can't edit it. There's a couple ways to do that. Properties. You want a password protected. There's other ways to do it, but password security so that they can't enable text access for screen reader devices. So if you assign it a password, they can't edit it without a password, essentially. That's it. Take over. So this is that was it. There's a lot to digest. This is such a broad industry. There's a million things I didn't talk about today. This is very high level stuff, but it's just a general things that you can think of if you're ever producing content that's going to be on the web. And think about the keywords. Think about what people are searching for. Because if they're not going to find it, what's the point? Any questions?
You mentioned your PDF small. What's considered small these days?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, it all depends on what the content is. I mean, if it's text, you're probably going to be.
Say a brochure.
I mean, if it's really graphically, I mean, I would try to keep it under what? 2 meg would probably be the most. Try to optimize it. And it's still pretty substantial. You're still going to get a good quality on it.
Yeah.
It's not going to choke us out. Any other questions?
Curious, and I imagine you would be the one to know. What percentage of people who are searching look for an exact match? Meaning they put it between quotation marks.
23.7.
I have no idea.
Okay.
No, I honestly.
The statistics that are made up.
I wanted to give you a precise number.
Yeah, I have no idea what that percentage is. Honestly, I know as a searcher myself, I'm not going to use the quotes unless I've typed in a broad term and didn't get what I wanted. You know, it's always a backup. I want this specific term, it has to be in here. That's the only way that I would use it. Good question.
A little bit about misspelled words and how that might affect, or if there are things that need to be
Well, certainly on your web pages, you want to be as grammatically appropriate as possible. Misspellings, that sort of thing. There has been some speculation that Google discredits those pages if it's terribly written. It used to be in this industry that you could actually optimize a web page for a misspelling. Not so much anymore. When you talk about semantic search, phrases that are interchangeable. Actually, company services kind of interchangeable, and misspellings. It'll always usually pull up the phrase that you were looking for. Oh, you misspelled this, but we returned results for this term. Was this what you were looking for? That's what, so they're very sophisticated. Can't do that. No misspelled domains. Any other questions?
One more. Concerning an actual image, a JPEG that you would put on, would you optimize it the same way with a file name?
Yes.
And other metadata that
Absolutely.
that image would have?
Yes, absolutely. And those rank very well in the image results if you do that. Absolutely. File names, metadata. Even give it a star rating if you want. it's your image. Give it a star rating.
So what you do is take someone's content and SEO optimize it. What if you find the content lacking?
That's what copywriters are for. If the content is lacking, we try to boost the content. We try to figure out what else we can say. And it varies from industry to industry on how creative you can get and what you can say. I mean, in some medical field, you can't say that you're the best. You can't say there's certain marketing standards that you have. It's also marketing. If you can write another paragraph talking about why you should be trusted or experiences that you've had, and just get another 100 words on the page, and get a keyword in there. It's all kind of massaging the content so that it works.
So if someone's got a lot of content, but it's just not keyword and other optimized, do you make recommendations for them to do it, or do you do it?
Depends on the client. Some clients are very hands-on and don't want you listening to their copy. But then you say, okay, we'll do that. Then 2-3 months later, they've got no progress. But then you convince them, we need to do this. We need to get the keywords on the page. We need to do these best practices. This is why you called me, and then they start calling you. Depends on the client.
Regarding the metadata?
Yeah.
Can you actually go back a couple slides where you were talking about the metadata from the body paragraph or one of those? In any case,
On the PDFs or?
no, from web pages.
Yeah, go ahead. Which one?
So often when I do a search, I see some of this metadata. I guess I always thought it was quoting material from the page that Google was displaying to me, but it's actually not.
Sometimes it is.
Sometimes it is. Because sometimes I look actually for that specific data that I saw, but it's not there. And that's because it's actually in the header of the web page, not in the content.
Yeah.
Is that what?
Google likes to mess with SEOs. They love to tweak and torment us. They do. And they will pull out excerpts from the actual body content and replace that with the description tag that you've written. You also see that sometimes in the title tags, where, for example, let me just show you an example. Probably work. Yahoo, that's not actually the meta title tag that I wrote. It's,
Are you looking for?
that's not the title tag that I wrote.
Oh,
But
okay.
it's taken the keyword and said, okay, well, this keyword appears enough times on this page that this is what this page is about. And it's just stuck it right there in the front.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I was actually referring to the small,
Yeah, I know what you're talking about,
Yeah.
but it's the same with it. I would say it's the same way for title tags as well. So they're pretty subjective with whatever they want to do. They'll pull it out and pop it
I was just trying to figure out like how much do you put in those metadata tags in your header of your web page. You know?
as clean as it needs, as clean as possible, but as detailed as it needs to be. You know, you hit the real key ones, and things that we didn't talk about are like schema, metadata, microdata, which are it's a whole different ballgame of tags that you can apply to different elements of the pages that specifically tell Google, this is an image, or this is the author of this page, or this is a navigation piece. Clean markup is always going to be something that you stress, but you want to hit the real meaty ones,
Right.
the titles, description.
So I have a question about your URL. If I go to just www.chriseverett.com,
You want
I want,
Chris J. Everett.
oh.
Somebody already bought that domain.
Right, that's that domain problem. So if I go to that part, that URL,
Hmm.
what do I see?
If you go to this,
Right, I mean,
you'll get the page.
yeah.
So, okay, difference, you're
It has
talking
the slash in it.
difference between paid
Yeah,
and organic.
yes,
It's going to show you the actual URL on the organic, unless there's like a breadcrumb view, which it'll show you like the path to get there.
okay.
It's like a really neat page.
Uh-huh.
But when you're talking about paid, this display URL is completely customizable. They can put whatever they want there, as long as it's still in the same domain and it meets the character.
But that's actually in your title.
This is the URL for this page.